You're listening to the She Lift Project podcast, a show dedicated to helping women achieve higher levels of success in the workplace. No matter where you are in your career, we want to help you grow. Now here's your host, Cynthia Kirkpatrick, a CPA, CFP, and Senior Financial Advisor at Moneta Group.
Welcome to another episode of the She Lift Project podcast. I'm Cynthia Kirkpatrick, and today we have Angie Lovatto joining us. We're going to talk about leadership, non-linear paths, being a female in a construction company, and everything that comes along with that. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You are in HR. Your history has been in HR. And right now you're the Vice President of Human Resources at KCI Construction Company, a big construction company, not only with a presence in St. Louis, but all across the country. And having been there, how many years now?
Almost 7 in April.
And
Almost
before
7.
that, like I said, a long history in HR, but construction prior to even KCI.
Yeah, my first job in the industry, I was 18 on a job site, as a job site, secretary, as they called back in the day, right? So that's where I started in the industry, and I fell in love with it. And it was a great experience because I learned a lot about just the industry in whole, like just union contractors, different craft workers, project management. I saw a building being demolished and then a new building being built. So I learned a lot about just the people that are in the industry and how you have to work together to get things done. And I just stuck with it. So
we'll definitely talk about KCI, but I'm sitting here thinking, okay, 18. Mm-hmm. And we're going to rewind. And I feel safe to say it because I just turned 48. So we're going to wind a couple decades.
Sure, yeah.
So 18, thinking back then, young woman, young girl.
I know.
Going on the construction site. Tell me about it. What was that? Paint the picture.
Oh, I thought it was exciting. So my dad raised me. Okay, so I think that's helped me in a male-dominated industry. But honestly, I never looked at it that way. I never looked at, I'm going to be a bunch around all these men and I'm going to be intimidated by men. No, I never thought of it that way. I thought of, I'm here to do a job and I want to make sure I'm adding value and learn what I can learn. And at that time, that company had a couple positions open. And I honestly took the lesser of the two because I felt like I would learn more starting at the bottom and then building myself up. I thought that was just a great point for me to start. So it was fun, I would say, a lot of fun for sure.
Did he work at that company, or how did you even get the role?
Well, back in the day, you'd open the newspaper and then you'd circle and send your resume in. That's how I just prepared my resume, sent it all over the place, and then this particular company called me. They're no longer in business anymore, but they called me and I interviewed and started. And it's in the town I live in now, Edwardsville, which is ironic. So it was good. It was good. It was just a ton of fun, for sure. And then I moved off of that job site into another position there in purchasing, which was basically for an estimating team. So in the industry, I really worked in all parts of the industry before I got into HR. So I worked in supporting estimating. I've done payroll. I've done, administrative support for project management teams. And so that's really helped me understand how we work. Especially in, an HR role, how can we support the people in all aspects, knowing all the things that they're in the middle of. So that journey I would never change. It was supposed to happen for a reason, I guess. And that's not where I had planned it to happen, but so that's just where life led me, I guess.
But 18, were you finishing high school, starting college?
No. So, wow, I was kind of daddy's little nightmare. Let's just call it that. I mean, let's just be real, right? I was pretty rebellious in high school. I didn't graduate from high school. My dad said, you're going to get your GED because you're never going to be able to get a job. Fine. So did that. He put me in some class at McHenry College in Lebanon, Illinois, which is where I went to school, which was just about, how do you shake hands and create a resume and, balance your life skills. And he said, I'm going to take you there and I'm going to pick you up and you're going to finish this. okay, Dad. So,
Go dad.
go Dad. Yeah. And then that's kind of, I just, found this job at this company a long time ago, and had some roommates, and I probably worked 3 jobs if I recall. That job, and then retail, because back in the day it just didn't make the ends meet, so I just had to, that's how I had to get the bills paid. So that was that was fun. Thank God for my dad, let's just call it that. I would have been even more of a mess if I wouldn't have had him in my life, for sure.
It sounds like a little bit of tough love and making you, then that's a great class to have, and setting you straight.
He, I don't know what my deal was in high school. I could care less about school. Could care less about school. I was always that way about school, which I ended up going back to school, of course. But I don't know. I was just a struggle for him. God love him. My other siblings were, little angels, and I was not, oldest. Maybe that was my problem. So, it was, like I said, I would never change it. He just, tough love, call it that. Yeah. But it was good.
So, this is an interesting story, because you'd think HR, vice president, all of this, that I wouldn't have thought sitting in this chair that you would have said that.
Well, a lot of people say that. What? You didn't graduate from high school? No, I sure didn't. But I think what really turned my life around was, of course, I met my husband. We got married. We'll be married 30 years next year, which is crazy when I say that out loud. And then we had a son, and I thought, wow, if something happens to him, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to support us the way I want to. So I went back to school, and started at, just a local junior college, and it took me 7 years to finish my bachelor's, and that was night school, online classes for the most part. I didn't think I was ever going to finish. But Trevor, which is my son's name, he was 1 when I started to go back, and it took a long time to do that. But I was determined to get it done because, I'm not going to be able to support him, like I said, the way I want to, and give him the things that I never had growing up, because we were, poor, let's just call it for what it is also. And that was, I feel like life kind of, things happen for a reason, and these are lessons that we're supposed to learn, and sometimes we don't know about them until we're past them, like, oh, that's what this was really for. So, I just I have got to finish this education, and many nights at the table, but I was bound and determined to get it done. And through all of that, my dad got cancer, and I was the oldest, so most responsible at the time, I guess. And so I took care of him, and back and forth to chemo, and then Trevor was small, and there was school, and it was crazy. But I'm like, okay, this is okay. We'll get it done. And I wouldn't be able to do it without support from, of course, my husband and his family, for sure. Yeah,
I was going to ask, how'd you get through that all? It's enough to be a first-time parent.
Yeah.
Let alone going back to college, let alone working.
Yeah.
And that on top of it.
Honestly, I don't know. I think just focusing on the goal, like, I'm not going to quit. I'm the kind of person that if I make my mind up, if I might think about something for a while, but once I decide, it's decided, and we're going to finish it through no matter what. And there were lots of times I'm like, I'm sure that I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to finish this. I've got this paper to write. I'm going to be up all night, and all that as a parent. And but I'm like, no, this is okay. Keep your stuff together, and you'll get it finished. And that's really all I could do. And then the day came, I was like, oh my God, I finished. 7 years. Hallelujah. I'm never doing it again. Ever going to go back to school. Especially, math is like an enemy of mine, right? And so I had crazy anxiety about math. And so I had to take, this anxiety, there's a class that they had that was free about people who have anxiety with math. And I took that just because I've got to get through math. And so that was helpful. But anyway, I finished, and I'm like, I'm never going back again. And then a few years later, I'm like, yeah, I think I need to go back to school and get my master's. And so then I did that. And that was an online class through Webster University. And I thought that was going to be a little easier because then I could just stay in my pajamas and it wouldn't impact family as much. But it was really harder because they're trying to make up time in the classroom. And so it was a lot more work. Sounds crazy, but it really was. But that's okay. It took me a couple of years to get that done. And then I was like, yeah, never again. And I haven't gone back. That's enough. Done.
Never say never.
Never say never, right? But again, it was all good. And I was determined to get a 4.0. I didn't because of statistics, but that's okay. Almost.
You passed.
I passed. I just said to that teacher, I have to pass. Can I be tutored the day before? Then she's like, of course, you're not the only one that has problems with this class. I'm like, okay, good. Because you kind of feel alone in it. Like that's how it feels, at least to me. It felt to me like, how come I can't get this? Why is my brain it's just not clicking the way I want it to. But I passed. I got a C. That's all I want. I just want to pass.
Well, that's, sometimes we'll talk in these chairs and I think how that relates to life, or I think that's how it relates to work, right? Sometimes we're perfectionists. We have this image of, 100%.
Yeah.
Yet sometimes 80% is good enough or better. And we need to ask for help, and we need to ask for help early enough. And that's not a sign of weakness.
Yeah. No, and it kind of took me a while to figure that out because I'm not one of those people that, I'm crazy, probably not good independent. My dad always said, don't depend on anybody, don't depend on a man. He was like, don't you ever depend on a man kind of thing. I don't know why he was like that with all of us, all the girls. And so, that was wired to never depend on anybody. And so I didn't, but, there, of course you have to, right? In times in your life, and that's okay. But if I can do it myself, I never think I need to ask so-and-so for help. I always think I'll figure this out. I can get this done. And that's just how I'm still that way, even today at work, I can get this done. Wait a minute. No, I better ask for help. Right. That's, teamwork makes the dream work.
Right.
So, and if I'm worn out and look worn out, that's not good for the team or the people around me either. So. Yeah.
Right, and that's as leaders, that's what we want to train and lead our people to do.
Yes.
Right, is collaboration and bringing more ideas to the table, building a better product.
Yes, leadership is it's the most satisfying and frustrating at times. Right, leadership is really tough because my role at KCI is really about leading and serving the people primarily in every aspect. One of the things that we talk about during HR orientation is that HR can be seen as kind of the compliance and do's and don'ts. And honestly, that's not the part of HR that I got into for. It's the people part of it, and how can we make people's life at work memorable and enjoyable and enriching and encouraging and all those things. So people are hard, we can be hard. And so I think we just have to get back to basics when it comes to leadership. It's really about getting to know the people that you work with as people, as individuals, and just being there when they need you, but also, pushing them when they need to be pushed because, you see potential in them. And we talk about the word accountability a lot. And, words are funny because they have negative tones to them or negative vibes. No, accountability isn't supposed to be negative. But if someone says to you, oh, I'm going to hold Angie accountable, it sounds, I'm in trouble. Well, that's not really it. It's really about, I see potential in you. It's kind of like if you had a coach, if you're on a baseball team or whatever kind of team, and your coach never said or corrected you or encouraged you or led you down this right path, you would never live up to your potential. And that's really what accountability it really is. And so leadership can be hard, but people don't always see things that way because we all come to work with our own experiences and life experiences and history and so we're all see things differently, which what makes it fun and frustrating at the same time.
Yeah, it almost makes me think to something you said earlier about that class you were forced to take.
Yeah.
That these are life skills
Yes.
And we have so many courses and education and so much time spent on the sports fields and different things, that if we spent time on really learning and teaching the communication around all of this, both on the giving side but also the receiving,
Yeah.
that what a better environment, community, all of that we could build.
Yeah, which we, of course, serving our people at KCI is really one of those things that we focus on a lot. Because without people, that's in any industry, right? But without people, we have KCI wouldn't exist, and that's the truth. It's the people that come to work every day that make KCI what it is, and trying to nurture them and help them and provide an environment where they feel like they can just be themselves without judgment is, really the goal. Because, life's hard enough. Why do we have to make work hard, So, golly, people have all these things going on in their world, right, that we don't necessarily know about. But if we can support them through those things, then that, I think, is meaningful for people, because you can work anywhere. So why would people want to come to KCI? And I really think it's about the relationships and the teamwork and the support, and we still have room to grow, right? We're always learning all the time about how to do that better, because I feel like the connection that you have with people that you work with and the feeling of the company cares about us or me has way more weight than, anything else.
Yeah, the people have the buzzword psychological safety.
Yeah.
And that, but it's so true. And
Very
I think
true.
Back to something you said earlier, that individuals also often see HR, I'm doing air quotes, as that compliance or police or,
Yeah.
well, I can't go to HR
Yeah.
because I might get in trouble, or they're there to protect the company, not to help me.
Yep.
And so it sounds, the picture you're painting and the way you're approaching it, very different in what so many of us are looking for.
I know. I try to tell new people, like I said, right? New people and anybody who's there, right, is that we're here. Yes, we do have an obligation as HR to protect the company from legality, blah, blah, blah. But also we're here to protect the employee from, things too. But really what we're here is to serve people from the time they apply to the time they retire in every way. And that's really what we're here to do, to help. And sometimes help can come across or seem like hard for people. Like, how do we help people be their best self? And sometimes, like, one of the things I love to do, if the opportunity presents itself, is coach people, because I feel like that is the most fun, enriching thing that you can do for people. Because what happens is, I believe that people behave for reasons, and you got to figure out what's the root cause. So if someone reacts in a certain way, whether it's anger, emotional, whatever, there's a reason why they're reacting that way. And so I don't think that people really want to react that way. They want to be their best self, right? So how do we help people figure that out? And so coaching people through those scenarios or situations is really fun. But they have to want to do the work, right? They have to want to understand why they're responding that way. So it just takes time and people being real and vulnerable and feeling safe, right? That they can express these things. And I do the same with them. Like, listen, I'm human just like they are. And here's some things that I've experienced in life. Nobody's perfect. We all have something. It's like, how do we learn from each other and know we're human and it's okay to not have it all figured out all the time? Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important, I think. Again, encapsulating so much of what you said is that we have life at work and we have so much life outside, and it's all swirling around inside of us.
Yeah.
And we bring it everywhere we go. And so much of what we're doing or behaving at work could be a result of some of those things outside, whatever it may be. And to be able to talk about it and get underneath to those root causes could be, so helpful.
Yeah. I mean, seeing someone who maybe not be as assertive as they need to be because of confidence issues or whatever, there's a reason why they're not confident, right? So, but having those conversations with it could be 6 months where I'm talking to someone once a month and, okay, here's your assignment. I want you to go blah, 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 blah. And it could be it could be a variety of things depending on the person. Everybody's different, right? But when you do that and they work on it and then you see them come out of the issue that they're struggling with is just, the best thing ever. That's the best thing ever, to see an employee come out of their shell and feel like more confident, and their chin's a little higher, or you can see them expressing more freely in meetings, and we get in our own way, right? And so how do we help people get out of their own way? And what I've always thought in leadership is, and what I've said, and I ask this question all the time, like, what's the best thing you can do for yourself and as a leader? And they kind of look at me, well, it's to work on you. You got to work on you, because leadership can be a good experience or a bad experience. And so just like everybody else that I'm coaching, if I'm not working on me, I can bring bad behavior or, maybe not even intentionally, to the workspace. And I would want to do that. Like, if you have a boss that you don't necessarily enjoy working with, right? We've all had those. And then you have those bosses that you love, but the bosses that you don't enjoy working with, why are they behaving this way? And that could be a really bad experience for someone at work. We're at work more than we are at home, even at 40 hours. And who works 40 hours? Nobody, right? And so having a bad relationship or boss is bad for people. And so, gosh, we talk about that in leadership all the time. You got to work on you, because you're impacting that person's life more than you know. More than you know. You don't even realize it. So.
This is amazing. Also seems so earth-shattering, groundbreaking from a quote-unquote HR standpoint. How did you figure this all out? How did it come to be?
That's a great question. I would say probably a lot of therapy in my own life, I would say, right? I think therapy is one of the best things you can do for yourself. I think, psychology and all the courses I took, my middle sister is also she's a therapist. So she's helped me with what do you think I can do in this scenario? I don't know when it clicked, or I feel like I've always had this love for people and inquisitiveness about behavior and like what's going on with that person and how do we help that person? How do you help somebody in that way? I think if, at times, if I had maybe done it, maybe if I was really had my stuff together, I probably would have done therapy, right? But I also feel like I can do that in the workplace, not, like a therapist would, but I can help people in that way. I feel like just my genuine love for people and wanting people to be happy is really, I think, has always been kind of part of who I am. And so that's what I try to think about in the HR space as much as possible, right? People can be, like I said, hard, and sometimes they don't want to listen, and you can do everything you can to help people and they just don't want to do the work, and then it is what it is, right? Yeah. So I think it's that.
It sounds like a curiosity.
Yeah.
We've heard
sure.
from many people in the podcast that curiosity is so important, whether it's, growth, building a business, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm hearing from you is when you see something in someone else, don't automatically write the story, don't automatically assume, you know what's going on. Don't automatically think, well, they're bad or they can't be helped. That before you run down any path, get curious.
Yeah.
That there's something underneath that let's try to understand and work on that root cause.
For sure. A lot of people that I've talked to over the years don't even understand it themselves. Right?
Oh, yes.
You know, and so I ask a lot of questions instead of make statements, because I want them to find out their own answer, you know, by answering questions themselves and them going down their own journey. Like, oh, I don't know. Well, let's figure out why you don't know. Like, why are you always worried about somebody else? Like, why are you worried about everybody else around you all the time? Like, what is that? You have people that you work with that are just super talented, but yet they're always worried about what everybody else is doing, and that it derails their focus. Why are you worried about what everybody else is doing? I don't know. We got to figure that out, because that's not helping you. You know, things like that. So, yeah, asking lots of questions.
When you think about all the people you've helped and you've coached in your role, any one or several that kind of stick out to you?
Probably a few. I could tell you there's one that was early in my HR career. There was a gentleman who, gosh, it's kind of a little bit of a long story, but a gentleman who was a mechanic, and he had a boss who back in the day saved him from, you know, an incident that almost happened on a job site. But instead of forcing him into, you can do this, as fear, he sheltered him instead. And so this boss retires. Now he becomes the boss, and he's got to go on site and do these repairs on giant cranes and all these other things. And he has hesitation, like he doesn't understand, like fear, panic attacks, all this other stuff. So his the warehouse manager at this company I was at calls me and says, I really don't know what to do. I said, well, tell him to come talk to me. So we talked every morning, and I asked him, well, tell me what happened. So he tells me a story. And I said, the only way you're going to be able to figure this out or get through it is to walk through it. You're going to have to go through it. Like, you're just going to have to get there. So he wasn't able to get through the anxiety that he had. And so, you know, I shared some personal stories that I have had and my family have had with anxiety, and there is help, and you can do it, but you got to help yourself and get done, right? So he takes a little bit of time off. He finds therapy. He comes back to work, and he's able to push through and do the things that he needs to do. And I got these flowers from his wife. And I, you know, these little moments, like, you know, which, those are kind of the moments that you remember. Sorry. When you're going through these moments with people, and when you have a really bad day, you know, you pull out these cards and you're like, oh, I help. Okay, this is why I'm doing this, because not everybody wants to help, you know, but there are people who do want help. And I think, God, I feel thankful and blessed, honestly, that people feel like they can come in and say these things, and I can somehow help them, and if I don't know how to help, guide them. But I would say that was one that was, because I think I talked to this guy every morning for weeks, and he finally, I'm like, you got to do it. You can do it. You know, get on out there and do it. Or you're going to be stuck. You're going to be in this space forever. On the other, it's going to feel like, you know, hell, probably going through it. But on the other side, you're going to feel so much better. I promise. You just got to do it. So, yeah, I feel like that was one that was a memorable one that, okay, this is why I'm here to do this, for that reason.
Yeah, definitely. And you say you're blessed. We're both kind of tearing up here.
Sorry, yeah. Well, every time I tell that story, I feel like I get a little emotional. Yeah, because I don't know.
Well, you say you're blessed for those people to tell you those things I will throw a but in here, but clearly you're creating the environment where you just said earlier, kind of pushing them to do that, but you're also inviting them to come in and feel safe and share those things and, sharing part of you.
Yeah. I think, to a point that you made earlier about the armor, or I have to come to work and be this perfect person, and people have expectations of themselves, and work have expectations of people that come to work. But we have to remember, at the end of the day, we're all humans, with stuff. And how do we help each other through the stuff? And sometimes people just need more help than we can give them. But if we guide them to a place where they can go and get that help, then, wow, I mean, that's really what it's really about. Career path, it could be a fear even in their career. Like, I don't know that I can do this. Well, tell me why you think you can't do it. You're in your own way. You can do anything you put your mind to, but there's something keeping, for example, this person from pushing forward. And not everybody wants to do that, right? Some people are good with what they're doing, and that's fine. That's good. You're good. You're happy. We're happy. But, so we just, keep marching along. Yeah.
I've seen this meme, this story or whatever, several times. However, with that story, and what you said afterwards makes me think about it, where, when there's a storm that comes through, I think cows run away from the storm. However, buffalo will run through it and get through it faster and get to the other side. What you were just saying, sometimes the only way
is through. Yeah. But trying to get people to go through it, man, it takes work, I mean, life is a journey, right? So, I mean, I don't think we ever figure it out. I mean, who has it all figured out, right? And, the fun and thing about these encounters with people is I learn from them all the time, like in every way that I can, use me personally, or, oh, I never thought about it that way, or, oof, maybe I can help another person with this experience that I had with someone. But you can't force someone, to do the things that you think they should do. And within leadership, you can have someone on your team that reports to you that you're like, wow, I see so much potential in you, but this behavior is unacceptable and it's getting in your way. So let's talk about this behavior. And you can try and try and try. You can coach and coach and coach. And at the end of the day, if they're not willing to do the work, you still have an obligation to the organization to make sure they're not impacting the people around them, and that's hard too, where you're like, wow, I love this person. They're super talented. I see so much potential. They're not ready to do the work, but they're impacting the team negatively. And then you have to make a change. And that's hard also, it can be lonely in that spot you got to make these decisions about people that you hate, that people just don't understand. So it can be kind of lonely at times. So you got to have people that you can talk to, that you can trust, like your circle, to say, this sucks right now. This is really lonely. I have to do this. Am I doing the right thing? Am I pushing too hard? Am I pushing not enough? I mean, it's like a whirlwind at times.
Yeah, they say, CEOs, business owners, that can be lonely at the top.
Yeah.
And when you say you have to have your circle, like, who is that? Who do you go to when you feel lonely at the top with these heavy things?
Well, I would say probably my husband, of course. We talk about some of these things. I would say, the exec group, really, like at KCI, right? If I'm struggling with an issue, we just talk it out. Like, what am I doing? What am I not doing? Or just listen. I just need to get it out. You don't need to say anything, just listen. Or, so it just, that group, I would say, and some close people that are in the same spot, I can, call and talk about, and even if you talk it out, you're still, it sits with you for a while, Yeah. I don't know. I think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? That's been always my thing. Right? I mean,
they say that,
they
right?
say that, but it really doesn't feel like it at times. Sometimes you're like, really? Do I really have to go through this? I thought the last one was the toughest one. You're okay. There's more to learn here. But no. I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, going back to thinking about the beginning of your story, and I'm thinking about you with your son sitting at tables together, learning. I don't know if that really happened, but studying together, all those things, and being in that construction industry, I'm sure there were probably a lot of difficult times, a lot of lessons learned.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Lots of lessons. I would say, my thing has always been, you just got to keep going, which sounds simple, but it's really not. It takes, determination, and when you want to quit, you don't quit. Like, okay, so I feel like fitness has been a thing. So since my dad died, right, which was a long time ago, I'm like, he was a smoker. He had lung cancer. I was a smoker in my hoodlum days, right? And I quit because I'm like, this is dumb. Why am I doing this? I put it down, never picked it up again. But fitness has always been one of those things. Like, I feel like fitness is, you have to find like your outlet that you learn something from. So fitness can be, I want to be healthier. I want to look good. But through all of the things that are hard in fitness, you learn that you can do more and be more, and it's the I actually did a pull up without assistance, or whatever it might be. I feel like you've got to have an outlet, and somewhere that you can just lay it all out there, and that you can also apply, in the workplace at the same time, or in life, right? Anything that's hard is worth doing, and it's easy. I mean, then what are you learning from easy? Really nothing. I mean, I like easy, don't get me wrong. I like easy, and okay, this is good, this is easy. But I feel like if you're not, pushing yourself, you're not growing. You're dying on the vine, essentially. Yeah. So I would say lessons would be that you've got to know that you can do it. And have there been times where I'm like, I don't know that I can do this, and doubt, and for sure. I worked with people that, haven't been like the best support or encouraging people. One of the things I can say that, KCI has done for me personally is, you have your backpack filled with all kinds of things, right? And sometimes they're not always good things, right? But you carry them around. And so when you go to a new workplace, it was my time to empty it over time. Like, oh, this experience I had previously, it stuck with me. Oh, but this is an environment where I can just unpack it and keep going. And KCI has been that way for me, which has been awesome and amazing. And it's because of the people. It's because of the people that I work with, and, knowing that we want to help each other be our best, and taking time out of, I got to get this thing done, to, I see you're struggling, what's going on, because that matters.
Yeah, as I've gotten older, I think I've realized that what you do is important. However, maybe more important, where you do it.
Yeah.
And who you do it with. And as you alluded to earlier, you're a leader, you're a boss, you're there 40 hours or more. It's so important. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, this KCI culture is allowing you to build something amazing. Mm-hmm. And allowing you to show up as your best self.
Yeah. Wow. I would say, the two, we're in ESOP now, so we're essentially all owners, right? But prior to that, I worked for, Brent and Tom were the two owners. And it was clear, I came from an organization before that where I had been there 21 years. And it was clear in talking to them before making the decision to leave to come to KCI what their mission was, and obviously to grow the business and all those things. But it was really about, supporting the people and serving the people. And so, I knew that from the start that that was what they really believed in and wanted to do. I mean, it could be little things like, I remember when we were smaller, Tom would stop and get, birthday stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're the president. I'll take that from you. That's an HR thing, or just just the way, stopping and making fun of in a good way of the people that you work with, or talking about the HR programs and things that we want to develop. And so they've always been that way. And, one of the things that, Brent, so I worked directly for Brent when I started there. One of the things he said to me, which I stole from him, was the backpack thing, right? We're going to empty your backpack and refill it with new nurturing, things. And so you know that they believe those things from just from when we make decisions about company things, like how is this really going to impact the people, and being really thoughtful there, because that's important to the culture, right? And I would say, like, when we went to our mission, when we went back to strategic planning several years ago and said, wow, we really need to revisit our mission, vision, and values, we spent a lot of time on those, because those really matter to how we do what we do every day, how we behave every day. And those are really our compass for everything. So, I mean, without that their way of thinking, I would have never made the leap ever. Because I had, but it was exciting to come to a company that never had HR and start all over, and build HR services for the people in the company. That's been fun. There's a lot of work there to do, right? But we've made a lot of progress. So it's been, and supportive from, I would say that Tom and Brent really get HR, strategically, understand the value that HR brings. A lot of companies don't. It could be, but they really understand that the people component is important, in all the aspects in HR, from learning and development to, wellness and having some fun things for people to do and that kind of stuff. So they've been super supportive and continue to be supportive in that way.
As you're talking, I'm thinking, everyone has a family at home. Yeah. If you build that culture where everyone, Tom buying the birthday things, if everyone is showing care, I mean, that really is a work family.
It really is.
Trust, and they care about you. They know about you. They want to see you. They want to see your backpack filled with all the good things. Yeah. That really is a family, too. And a functional family, not one of those dysfunctional ones.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It is. It's kind of, I mean, your family that you see every day and that you get to know every day. And I mean, there are plenty of, we have a lot of people in the field, right, that we necessarily don't meet every day, right? But if we hear there's something happening in someone's life that we can support them, we will. It could be raising money, or donating something, or meals, or whatever. Whatever works for that family, we'll do if we hear about it, for sure. Because that's what we would want to do. That's the right thing to do. It's when people have things when people have things going on at home, and if you can just provide a little bit of relief in some way, then that's a good thing. That's what we want to keep doing.
And isn't life easier when you kind of live by the right thing, the good thing to do?
Yes, it is a lot easier. It's like, integrity, right? Do the right thing when, especially when nobody's looking. It's kind of funny because when you think about doing the right thing, you always think, oh, that's easy. But sometimes doing the right thing can be hard too. So, yeah, I mean, those values, which integrity is one of those, we we use and live by as all the time. Yeah.
And I feel like no matter what, and you don't know when, you don't know how, you don't know where, that comes back. And that's not why you do it, right? But that comes back in some form or fashion, like that story you were telling earlier, that whether it's just that good internal feeling, or it's through somebody you meet, or it's, business comes your way, whatever it is, like something good comes back to you by doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yep.
By showing kindness.
Showing kindness. Yeah. I'm kind of a sucker for like sayings, and so I have those in my office, and I have, kindness matters. I think that when people, I think it's easy to show kindness to kind people when you see kind behavior, but when you see someone who maybe isn't behaving in the way you'd like them to, they probably need the kindness more than they realize, right? But sometimes, that can be hard when you're like, whoa, what was that behavior about? But it's, showing kindness at that point, instead of adding on to, whatever's happening in that person's life at that time.
What do you do? How do you prepare yourself, right side yourself to go to that in kindness versus adding on?
I feel like that's my I don't know, natural thing is to show kindness first, because I really believe that people want to be their best, and so I always start there. But there are times when I'm like, I'm losing my patience here. Like, what on earth, And I'm not saying I've always done it right either. But I just, if there's a point in time, one of the things that kind of with leadership, right? Even I'm back in school, right? They show you like leadership, you have to be strong and tough and all these things. And that's really not true. Although that was kind of the school of hard knocks you grew up in, or I did. Like, no, you got. And really, what people really want to see is, the vulnerability and the authenticity, and it's okay if you don't have it figured out all the time, right? And so, in those instances where, maybe I wasn't as kind as I should have been, or we've talked about this behavior, help me understand why we're doing this again, or whatever. And I walk away from that going, wow, that really probably wasn't really appropriate, or I feel bad about how they came out. I will always go back to the person to say, that probably didn't come out. That didn't come out the way I intended it to. How did that feel, though? Like, how did you interpret it, right? And then we have a dialogue about it. Because I don't want anybody to feel a conversation that we're having, hurtful or mean, or, although people come to their own, really conversations with their own thing, and how they feel is how they feel, and you can't control how they feel. You can only control, yourself and your actions. And so, yeah, it's, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? And we don't want people to be perfect. Like, be uniquely you and perfectly you, whatever you want to say. That's okay. That's what makes, work and working with all these people fun and interesting. If we were all the same, how boring would that be? Boring, I think.
Yeah, that's true. And where my brain is right now, it's like, it's so hard for somebody who wants to be perfect and expects herself to be perfect.
Yeah.
How to handle it when you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think, people, in leadership roles, no matter what role it is, right? Whether it's at the top or whatever, if you're leading a team or people, there are expectations that people have of you. Those can be hard too. And I think, you can be judged. If only we were judged by our intentions, right? But not always are you. And so you can't control what people think or say. You just know that if you look in the mirror and say, okay, I did my best, I did this the best way I could, I did it with honesty and all those things, that's all I can do. That's all you can do, even though maybe it doesn't feel that way. Because who doesn't want to be liked or who, everybody wants to be understood, and it's not always that way, in leadership for sure. Yeah. So people can be judgy, right? I mean, people can be judgy, but that's just people stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the judgy part gets back to we should be more curious.
Yeah.
Before we judge.
For sure.
And ask more questions.
Yeah.
And seek to understand what's underneath, where they're coming from.
Exactly. And if so, an employee, if I encounter a conversation like that, I'll correct it immediately. Like, I'm not sure that's really, just talking them through, like, I don't know, that's a really kind thing to say. How do you really know? Like, tell me why you're saying that. Now, sometimes it's not perceived well, because it's perceived that I'm, maybe correcting them, but I'm trying to get them to think differently. Just like performance management, I'm getting off. Like, performance management is no company ever on the history of the planet that I'm aware of has ever gotten this right. And so there's a lot of human elements to that whole process that we just re-kicked this off, and we talked about, like, it's the human element that makes this hard. It's not the process. It's the interaction with people that make it hard. But we're thinking about it all wrong. Like, we got to rewire or retrain or help people rethink it. So it becomes, I want to, or instead of I have to, or, you got to, we're here to help each other. And you're their coach, and that's what you need to do. I could talk all day long about that. So performance management.
I think it's having those open, vulnerable conversations of, right, like, I'm here to help you. I care about you. I want to help you get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the things to get there.
And I think people have to be able to be open to hear the things they need to hear instead of what they want to hear. And not everybody wants to hear the things they need to hear. And so it can be hurtful, or people take it wrong, but we just talk through those, when you see the response, the nonverbals, which is most of communication, right? You can tell me, you can just talk through it to get them to understand the intent. And that's really all you can do. I mean, we're in the people business, really. That's really what we're in. We are in construction, right? But we're in the people business. And honestly, the male-dominated industry, there are a lot of, I think that this industry can be like tough guy kind of thing. But I think that there are a lot of softies out there, like, too. So I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding about, the industry in that way, too. Yeah. Hard. It can be hard, but rough and gruff and direct, and but they're people just like everybody else.
Have you navigated things differently because of the industry, or things that surprised you, or that you've learned along the way because of the industry? Or
no, I think I just think that my first experience in the industry and seeing how the people worked together, and even on fights and arguments, right? Like, wow, that was really kind of bad behavior. What on earth was that about? Or, I don't know. I was always curious then. No, I don't think there's been really a thing in the industry. If you talk specific processes or uniquenesses, or, in the HR space for sure, right? Like training education, or, our industry is unique in that space. Or how are we going to get all the craft workers how are we going to get those people to execute the work? And how come they're not getting into the end of that sort of thing is specific. But at the end of the day, it's still the people. I like to keep things simple, and that's really what it is. Whether it's manufacturing or construction or, financial, it's really people are doing the jobs, all those jobs. And so it's how are we creating an environment for them to do that? And there's probably specific uniquenesses about industries, but I can't really find one. I would say, for KCI, keeping it simple, where you can make things complicated. We have a lot of really smart analytical people. Okay. And you got to keep it simple. Keep it simple. And that seems to work. Keep it simple, which is hard. I don't keep it simple all the time either. I'm like, wait a minute, Angie, you're making this too complicated. Start over, And so I always say, how am I going to keep this simple so people can wrap their brain around it? Because, construction's hard, and can be complicated and a lot of stress and deadlines. And so if we can keep the things internally simple, then that's what we'll try to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's we are people. We're all human beings.
Yeah.
Yet we all seem to know very little with how to deal with each other.
I know.
Understand each other.
Isn't communication interesting? I swear. Yeah, communication is like, I don't think any company has that like quite figured out. Sorry, excuse my feet. I don't think communication can be a barrier. Oh, wow, that's not what I meant at all. I don't know how to get that. I don't know what the answer is except just re-communicating, over-communicating. You could say it to one person, they get it, and then you say it to another group, and they're like, "I don't get it." You got to tailor it to certain groups differently. I don't know. It's just being inquisitive and asking why and asking more. I ask, like I said, way more questions than make statements all the time, because I learned something that way.
And it sounds like being real and genuine and authentic yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Like I would say to the team, like, I don't know, I don't have all the answers, but we'll figure it out. Let's figure this out together. And I could say, I could be, I had a therapist tell me, you're an overachiever. And I'm not either an overachiever. Like, yes, you are an overachiever. I'm like, why would, no, I don't see myself that way still today. But I know that, in reality, if you look at the textbook, I'm probably overachiever, yet it's never good. It's like, there's always something to learn and get better at and keep, going. So I don't know. I think it's, I don't think I'm ever gonna, I've just wired that way. I don't know what to do about that. So I want everybody else to be wired that way, right? You can keep learning and growing. Stop pushing, Angie. Okay. I know I can push too hard at times. Yeah.
Are you able to stop and celebrate the little wins?
Yeah. Yes, but not long enough. Like, all right, we got that done. Okay, let's get to the next thing. Yeah. Results. It's funny. We as an executive team went through some leadership training, and we did like a DISC, I think was one of them. And when we looked at it all, we were like, oh wow, we're all dominant. A big group of us were dominant personalities on this particular scale, which is results and getting things done. And then I recognized in that moment, oh wow, I don't have. We really need somebody to be focusing a little bit more on the people side, like fun stuff, or right. Because I think in the HR space, you start out, I would say I've kind of changed over time a little bit. You go into it because you love the people part of it. But then as you get higher up in the role, you got to get things done, but you seem to be focusing on, you get the results have to be done, yet you're getting the results through the people. So you have to remember that too. Because I am definitely results focus, like, we got to get this done, what's the deadline, when are you going to be done, and like just like, I'm not going to say anything to my team that's in HR that I wouldn't do myself, so definitely getting things done is good. But celebrating the successes is good also. Yeah.
So you've done a lot of leadership training yourself. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of leaders and you train a lot of leaders. If you could define good leaders, good leadership traits, and sometimes we learn a lot from the bad.
Yeah.
Like, kind of give us both. what are those that you see in each of those columns?
Good and bad?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Because I think not only those who, still want to keep on that path of honing leadership skills, but also those out there saying, ooh, what should I look like for in my next job, in my next company, in my next boss?
I would say, we'll start with, I don't know. We'll start with, I hate to say bad and good. I think the most important trait, there are good traits, or traits that have a good impact and traits that have a bad impact, right? So the traits that have bad impact, I think are, probably communicating in maybe a condescending way, or not valuing the people that you work with or for, not celebrating enough, not showing that you care enough, not being there for people, just that empathy and also, like you've got this armor of, I got it all figured out, and that's not really real life or real, no one has it all figured out. So I think the traits that are super helpful for people and impactful are just being genuine and real, right? And honestly, I've in my career I've struggled with being genuine and real at times, because when you in your career you're surrounded by certain leaders yourself that you learn from, right? That you don't realize, kind of like your parents, right? You learn things from your parents that you didn't realize you learned from. And if you have kids, they're like, oh, wow, Trevor learned that from me. Like even mopping the floor, stupid stuff, right? That you just don't even realize. And so you learn from people that you're around. And so I think just traits that are, if someone has made you feel good, or like you've seen a leader that has done something great for someone, or is coaching someone, and even though those are hard things, if they're doing it with humility and empathy, yet you got to be, stern sometimes, but you can still be that way and communicate in a way that's respectful and humble and kind. And I think humbleness is like one of the best qualities that you can have. You got to be humble, right? Because that then allows your team to be the same. So if you're walking around like you got it all figured out and you're never saying, I don't know, how do you expect your team around you to feel safe to do the same? Like, I don't know, Angie, that's okay. Or I made a mistake. It's okay if we make mistakes. Having a supervisor or a leader who like pounds on you for making a mistake, instead of saying, it's okay if you made a mistake, what are we going to learn from it? I mean, those are two different ways of looking at mistakes, and they're both out there. I've been around both, right? And so then, oh God, I better never make a mistake again. And then you're like, you're like hypersensitive to making a mistake, and then you get in this bad pattern, and then, oh, it's okay if I make a mistake. I would say, like I've previously, before coming to KCI, this is one of the blessings that I would say that the company has done for me, the people, which is this perfectionism of, you can't make mistakes, and, oh, what is so-and-so going to say if I don't do this right? Or what, you get into this, and then if you make a mistake, you get this like, anxiety, whatever you want to call it, in the pit of your stomach, like, oh, one of those, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. Oh no, I didn't, I crossed the T, something silly. It could be something silly. And so I get to KCI, and, over time that dissipated. I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't have that feeling anymore, because it was a different environment, right? That it was okay to make a mistake. Like, you're not going to get screamed at or ridiculed or made you feel less than because you made a mistake. Yeah. So I don't know, I kind of went all over the place with that answer, but my point is, I think just, being real and human and authentic and humility is, I think, the best thing that you can be, instead of being someone you're not. I think gives people the safe space to, I don't know, it's about the relationships and the connections that you're making with people. And if you're on the other side, who wants to make a relationship with someone who's, hard? It's harder to make a relationship with someone who's kind of got that armor on. You can try to break through, but you can't sometimes.
Yeah, you go into work and you never know who you're
what you're going to get today. Am I going to get Sally or am I going to get Sarah? For example, that's no fun. Who wants to walk into that environment? But it's out there. That is not the environment we have or will tolerate. No. So.
And really, the end of the day with the business, I mean, one, the culture, you want it to be fun. You want people to come to work because they're going to want to actually do the work.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Their minds will be clearer, their hearts, their souls, everything will be clearer. They'll do better work.
Yeah.
And so they'll innovate more, they'll collaborate better, they'll bring better ideas to the table. I mean, business will be better.
Yeah, imagine like being in a team, like you've heard the 5 dysfunctions of a team, for example. Okay. I mean, that's real stuff. That is real. And if you've got a team who is dysfunctional, quote, as opposed to a team who isn't, the amount of collaboration and realness. Now, sometimes, you can get into, if you're really debating something, we have to remember that we're talking about the thing, not the person. So when we're talking about an issue, remember if it's like a heated dialogue or really passionate conversations about the issue, not the person. But you got to really get to good relationships with people just for them to really understand that that's your intent. Yeah. So yeah, the dysfunctions of teams do exist. That's for sure. And they're not as productive or fun or, I mean, who hasn't worked with someone who's been kind of hard to deal with? Yeah. And so I'm one of those people though that just goes right at it. Like I don't mess around with that at all. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, we're not going to get anywhere if you can't, like, be a good teammate.
How'd you get to that?
That's a great question. How did I get like the nerve to what is going on with you?
I'd like to see what's going on with you.
Yeah. I think how I've done it over the years, I would say earlier in my career was probably a little more subtle. Whereas today it's just, come here, what's going on? I think I think it's just experience, time with people, probably just building confidence over time that, this isn't tolerated. Because when you say something to someone, you got to know you can say it with kindness, right? And help me, what's going on with you? Your behavior was not how I know you want to be. So is there something going on? Whatever that is. And they're either going to accept that as you're trying to help them or they're not. And so, you just have to be comfortable knowing that they might leave that conversation, maybe not with a good impression of you, but that's their thing. That's on them. That's really hard to learn in leadership that, again, it's just if you're judged for your intentions. And at the end of the day, I care what people think, but at the end of the day, if there's a behavioral issue that we got to deal with, then be mad at me. That's okay. Be mad at me. You just got to be comfortable there.
You talked about your backpack that you brought to KCI.
Yep.
What is something that you took out of the backpack, and what is something that you put in your backpack?
Great. Well, I would say I dumped a lot out. Probably, I would say perfectionism, fear of failure, trying to be someone I wasn't. So being authentic. So I dumped, had all that, right? And then as I came to KCI, I started to realize, like I can be me, I can just be me. And I can make mistakes and I'm not gonna, so it took time, right, to realize that, I'm not perfect. And being able to admit that I'm, like, I have a problem with being perfect, that's a safe space to do. And if I made a mistake, it's okay. Being able to just make I would say, prior, I'm going to go back to the backpack that came in. It was not being able to really do what I wanted to do with the HR space. Where here at KCI I was empowered to do what I really thought was best for the people with their support. So I think this environment really made me thrive personally and professionally. I mean, a ton. Yeah. I don't know if that answered the question or not, but
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you think about all the people you've helped and you've coached. Is there something that stands out where you've helped somebody with their backpack, putting something in, taking something out?
it's interesting the lack of confidence people have in different ways or varying degrees that limit their ability. So if we can get, there was one in particular, there's a lot of them, but that had a terrible boss that just impacted her incredibly in a negative way. And getting her to understand that that was not about her at all. It was really about the boss's behavior, right? And then seeing her rise and just how she walked. And that's one example of just being more confident. It's kind of like if you're going into we all have things that we're confident in and not. And so when you feel confident, you approach things so differently as opposed to when you don't. And so getting people to feel confident in the space that they're in, they're going to just do and perform and be better. And when someone's timid or kind of questioning themselves and we can get them through that, they're going to feel better and they're going to just be better. I see that a lot. Some are harder to crack than others, but I would say that is probably one of the bigger things. And the reason why they're not confident and what's impacted them to not be confident can be all over the place. Could be bad boss, upbringing, whatever, or a combination of. Sometimes we're drawn to people that aren't good for us, so yeah, I would say that. That's all.
So it goes back to you can't control others.
That's right.
You can't control what they think. You can't control what they feel. Who can you control?
You. That's it.
Fingers pointing back to myself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we talk about this a lot, which is in every situation, which is I always tell people if you have a situation at work where you've got something that's made you mad or upset you, then you got to figure that out. That's your duty to figure it out. And so we try to help them figure it out. But you can only control, how you think, how you react, how you respond. That's it. Yeah. And that's not, listen, when pressure's on and deadlines, it's not like, we're angels. We're people and we have our moments. And that's okay. We keep, oops. And we just keep going. A leader who says, I didn't do that. Oof, I didn't behave. I shouldn't have said this. Or I think that's important too. I made a mistake and here's what I learned from it. Yeah. So.
And then what you can control, those things. And, again, if your intent, sharing that, trying to do that from care, kindness.
Yeah.
We won't be perfect either. Sometimes we're going to be, pressure, stress, anxiety.
Yeah.
And if we do screw up, because perfectionists saying that we are going to make mistakes, that we come back and just admit it, own it, and we're not horrible human beings when we make a mistake. Because
no, you're learning. It's the thing with we have a book like discussion once a month and it's voluntary, right? And we talk a lot about these things. This is one of the things I love about the things that we do is we read a book, whether it be business or wellness, whatever. We always get into these conversations where you get to know the people that you work with and how they think, and we talk about failure a lot. It comes up a lot, and it's kind of like failure is seen as negative, which I find interesting. Like, it's not negative, but it's just how you've been, I don't know. How has it been presented to you when you failed? Like, do you get like shunned or yelled at, or it's okay? It's so a lot of people come with fear of failure to the workplace. And so trying to get them to understand it's okay. If you make the same mistake over and over again, well, now we got to talk about something. But we're learning, we're going to make a mistake as an organization, as leaders, every day, all the time. That's just life. So we're just going to roll with it. Instead of being these perfect people that walk around. That's not reality at all. So
I kind of want to put you, like, make a little, like, doll of you, like, that I push a button, and whenever I'm going through a difficult task, I can just push a button and one of your sayings just comes out.
Oh, that's funny.
As like a HR little buddy.
Yeah.
I can have you on my desk.
Call me anytime. No.
Where have you been all of my professional career?
Man.
The good thing is I'll have this podcast, and then my husband will make little shorts, and I can just go back and be like, which one do I need to go back and listen to? Maybe this one right here. And honestly, he'll just probably follow me around at the house and play some of these and be like, remember,
That's
you need
too
to hear
funny.
this. You need to hear this.
Oh, I mean, I've learned a lot. I mean, I've learned from a lot of people along the way, right? A lot of people along the way, and a lot of my own troubles, and but who wants to walk through, my thing is, who wants to walk through life feeling miserable? Okay, right? So if someone, like math, for example, I don't want to walk through life being terrified of math and having this anxiety all the time. I got to get over this. This is terrible. But I could stay there and avoid it, which wouldn't do anything for me. Nothing. So that's kind of what we kind of try to tell people is, why would you want to feel this way? Do you like feeling this way? I ask that question. How do you feel? Do you like feeling this way? Well, no, then what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do about that? You can change this. That's up to you. But here's some things that you can do, or what do you think you could do to change it, right? And then, but it's otherwise you're stuck in the same pattern. You just got to get out of it. And then, God, trying to get people to see that on the other side of it, you'll understand, oh, wow, like who hasn't suffered, depression or anything, like I sure have. And then when you don't realize you're in it and then you get out of it, you're like, wow, thank goodness I listened to, the doctor, no, I'm good, no, you're not. What? I am good. Denial. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to listen to this doctor. And then, you're like, wow, I was really really was not my best. And then, okay, now I'm moving forward. So yeah, you get in a rut, you stick in a rut and you stay in this rut. And then who wants to be in the rut? Like, people get in ruts. We're going to get in ruts our life, right? I'll get in another rut. You'll get in another rut. And we'll figure out how to get out of it. That's all you can do. Though at times it really doesn't seem easy or like you're ever going to get out of it. But you just, okay, it's another day. I woke up, my feet hit the ground, and I'm going to make the best of it. Yeah.
Yeah, getting out of the rut is a hard work.
Very hard work.
So rewarding on the other side.
It is, but you don't see it at times. You just don't see it. So you got to have reminders along the way, or people that are going to tell you, you're going to be fine. You're going to, get on out there. I mean, if you don't have those people in your life, that's hard to do it alone. That's not fun or easy either. So having people at work feeling alone, that's not what we want. You're not alone. You got all these people surrounding you that will help you. That's, one of the things that we hear a lot about with after orientation. I do a 90-day conversation with each person, and how's it going? You feeling supported? All the things that we always hear. I always hear, which is everybody here is so helpful, and no matter who it is and what title, they'll help me, which is great, which is awesome. Yeah.
What a story from your high school rebel days.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's a whole nother podcast. My rebel days. Right.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk another time. 18, starting a construction site, to non-linear path into all those different areas, but ending in HR to now KCI, where you can build this HR team group in a way where you're serving people, you're taking care of people, not just filling a compliant HR.
Yeah.
Certainly sounds like your values and your talent and your purpose have met where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. That's what it feels like. Yeah.
What a path and a journey, and then to be able to impact other people's lives in such a positive way.
Yeah. Sure try to. I mean, I can't tell you that, you know, I have always, right? Because, you know, again, when you're in that leadership spot and you've got to, like, this is unacceptable, you know, some people don't want to hear it, and you're the villain, right? And that's okay. You can be the villain. It is what it is.
We try. We try with kindness.
That's it. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. I would say, you know, I rewind a lot of times on conversations and things that I've been in, and try to always think about how is that impacting the other person, and how could I do it or say it better, or always thinking about that. Because if and I'm sure I know this has happened, right? Like, you say something to somebody, they leave feeling maybe not the way you want them to. That's not my goal. But, you know, we're not perfect, so that's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
For all those perfectionists out there, we're not perfect.
We're not perfect. Perfection is like analysis paralysis, right? We say that a lot. Like, this doesn't have to be perfect. We can move on. It's okay. Yeah. I think it's fun. I don't know. I think people are fun, and how they get to where they are, and how they are what they are, and finding people who, putting them in the right spot where they shine, versus opposed to where they, you know, like putting people in the right seats. Yeah, is fun.
I think so. I'm sure that's what your dad was trying to do, getting you to that class and getting you forward, getting your GED. If
wow,
he could see where you're at now, what do you think he'd say or think?
Oh, wow. I think he'd be proud of me, I'm sure. Yeah, before he passed, he said that to me, "I'm proud of you," which was like, you know, we were cleaning out his house or his apartment, and I called him. I said, "Okay, I'm coming over," and he goes, "I'm proud of you," you know, and that was the last thing he said to me before he was on hospice. So yeah, he's, I don't know. I had this weird, when I was in school, he had passed, right? And I remember I did some night classes, and I would get home at 10 o'clock, and I'd be starving, and I'd eat a bowl of cereal and just sit there like, you know, like a zombie, and okay, I gotta go to bed, and, you know. And I remember, like, it was shortly after he passed, I would say a month or so, each of my sisters said the same thing, okay, which was, I felt like his, I was like thinking about nothing, and I was like, I felt like a presence of his, or I don't know, and it was, "You're going to be okay," kind of thing. And they had the same thing in different aspects, but within the same kind of time frame. I don't know. Maybe that's just how we feel better about the situation. Yeah, we had different upbringings. I mean, they're half sisters, so we didn't like grow up together, but kind of did. It's weird, but all different experiences. But he was always that dad that was, I love you, and did fun things with us, and put a foot in our rear end when we needed it, you know. And I needed it quite a bit. Yeah.
And it sounds like you're doing that now in your role.
Yeah.
I love you. Let's do fun things. And if I need to
put my foot in your rear, I will. Right? Yeah.
In a caring way.
In a caring way.
Because I know what you're capable of.
I know what you're capable of. Yeah.
For those of you who are looking for a new job, know people who want to look for a good company, KCI Construction, you can find them out there on the web, kciconstruction.com. You can find Angie Lovatto out there on LinkedIn. If you want to find a great company with a great HR group that's beyond compliance and want to help you as a person, a human being, and in your career, they are hiring, especially looking for people out in the field, but also throughout the whole company. Who are the kinds of people that KCI Construction is looking for?
Well, we are always looking for great talent. I would say in the craft worker space, always in the office. Currently, I would say, estimating team, project management teams are really hard to find, especially those that know how to do heavy civil highway work. But we know that in the trades, that has been a decline. And so, man, if we know anybody who would be interested in joining the union, we would be happy to sponsor them. And it's a great way to earn a living. And I think there's a misconception out there about the industry. So, yeah, we'd be happy to help them figure that out. That is a great industry to be in.
So for those who are listening, I know I've learned a lot and connected with a lot. Hopefully others have too. And if you know of anyone who wants to work for an amazing company with an HR who coaches you and does more for you, that's amazing. Then look at KCI, look for Angie Lovatto. She's out there on LinkedIn. KCI's out there everywhere. Website, and you'll see them probably out on the streets.
Sure.
Building.
On the highways,
making everything safer and looking better.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for coming on today and just being real and sharing your story and sharing so much helpful information, not only for me, but I know for others out there.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This concludes another episode of the She Lift Project podcast. To hear more episodes of the show, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And to learn more about our mission of helping women reach higher levels of success, visit sheliftproject.com and sign up to receive the latest news, ebooks, videos, and more.